Hi, you're listening to WSVC Radio. I'm Leo Seth.
I'm Stephen Foss.
And you're listening to The Pit Stop. That's with two T's. We've been on a break for a little bit, so we have a new semester, a new year, and a new story. What do you have for us today, Stephen?
So, today we'll be talking about the history of Idlewild Park, and I have a confession to make. I've lived in this state and this town for the past 13 years of my life.
Okay.
And I've never, ever known that it was spelled the way it was.
Wait, how did you spell Idlewild?
Okay, listen, whenever I say Idlewild, because that's how I've always said it, how do you think it's spelled? Idewilld. It's Idlewild.
Idlewild.
Idlewild. There's an L in there.
Does it mean something?
Yeah, because it actually there's a meaning behind the name of this park. But let me just take a quick second and say, Idlewild Park is an entertainment park, and it's only 15 minutes from campus. And that being said, it is the third. I messed that up. Let me start over. The park is the oldest operating amusement park in the state of Pennsylvania. It is the third oldest in the United States, and it is the 12th oldest in the entire world.
That's pretty cool.
It is 15 minutes from here. That is cool, and I like it. So actually, yeah. So the name Idlewild. Let's get into that. Do you know anything about the name? Like, where does it come from? What is Idlewild?
I remember reading a long time ago that JFK Airport, before it was called John F. Kennedy, was called Idlewild.
You were correct, actually, and I can find this in my research. Right, so here's the reason behind that, which if I remember, let's see if I remember this correctly. The area that airport was on was Idlewild. Now, idle plus wild is literally just land that's just kind of unused, like completely unkempt.
Like a woods?
Yeah. Just this big, foresty area. There's just nothing there. Nothing's out there. It's just pure, idle, wild. It's not doing anything. It just is.
So
idle, wild.
That's what it is. It's a state of mind, one could say.
Okay, but yeah, the reason JFK Airport was called Idlewild Airport is because, that's where it started. It was just Idlewild, and they started landing planes there, right? Right. And that's pretty much how the park got its name, because where this land used to be was Idlewild. It was just completely unkempt land. So
that's pretty neat.
Yeah, it is. So to understand why this park exists, we have to talk about something completely unrelated: trains.
Oh, I love trains.
So, I imagine that most people who don't live in this area, and even people who do live in this area, have never heard of the Ligonier Valley Railroad. But it used to be a thing that existed. They were originally given a charter by the Pennsylvania Commonwealth back in 1853 to construct a rail line between the towns of Latrobe and Ligonier, which is like 15-20 minutes to our... Wait, which direction is it?
North, east.
It's to the east?
Yeah.
I'll just take your word for that.
Route 30 east.
Route 30 east. Oh, you're right. Okay. Yeah. Today, Route 30, historic road, runs between Latrobe and Ligonier. Anyway, going back to the trains.
Trains.
The little train comes through. Anyway, the reference. So they got the charter from the Pennsylvania Commonwealth, and then they proceeded to build absolutely nothing for almost 20 years. Because, that's smart. So in 1871, the company that asked for the charter officially changed its name to the Ligonier Valley Railroad Company, acquired a 10.3 tract of land to build on, and they began construction. And then 2 years later, the Pennsylvania Railroad, which was helping to fund the project, was like, nah, I'm going to head out. They proceeded to not fund the project anymore, and they didn't have enough money to finish the railroad, so they put it up for auction.
So they pulled them under the rug almost?
They kind of did.
They derailed them?
I see what you did there. Oh my gosh, this show is so corny. Anyway, so they were put up for sale at auction, just an entire railroad, a small railroad, but an entire railroad, and they were bought by one Thomas Mellon. You ever heard of him?
I feel like I'm originally from Minnesota, but Mellon's kind of a big name.
Mellon's kind of a big name.
What is it? Carnegie Mellon?
So
Why Mellon?
That's not this.
Anyways,
That's not the same. Okay. I'm going to gloss past that completely. So, Thomas Mellon was a retired Court of Common Pleas judge from Allegheny County. He was the founder of a very large bank called T. Mellon and Sons, and he was a large financial supporter of corporate titans, such as some you may have heard of, Gulf Oil, Alcoa, Westinghouse Electric, and PPG Industries.
That's a big one. It's PPG Stadium, right?
Yeah. So, there's a bit of money in these kinds of things. This guy was basically a magnet. He could basically just do whatever he wanted at this point. So, he bought the rail line, and he finished the rail line.
Every man's dream to own a model train set.
And this guy was just doing the full-size thing. What a baller. Am I right? So, he finished the railroad, and, let's see, 1877, December 1877, the line was officially completed, and officially they started running trains on it. And since Mellon was transporting a lot of the same goods that he was, invested into, he was making a lot of money from it. But he also was interested in opening the line up to passenger service, since, it was on a rail line that could connect all the way from Pittsburgh.
Right.
So he saw, oof, I just forgot how to talk there. I apologize greatly for my actions upon this day. Anyway.
New year.
And the new me is worse. Anyway, so he wanted to attract more passengers, right?
Okay.
That's where we were. So what do you think he decided to do?
Well, for rail service between two cities?
Well, no, that's what he's doing, but how does he make that more, marketable?
You get on a train to go somewhere?
Well, no, he opened a recreational area.
Oh, okay.
No, that's not how you make it more marketable. You gotta add, why should you ride my train?
The rest stop?
Yeah, if it's a cool rest stop. People do that. They go on road trips, right? And they just be going and hitting rest stops along the way. My family does that sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a thing. It happens.
I can see back then, a picnic area. That makes sense.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, also, picnic areas back in the day were kind of cool spots to hang out, socialize, all that kind of jazz. So, Thomas Mellon's going to open a picnic spot. And the tract of land that he wanted to use, which was a stretch of land between the railroad and the river, was owned by a landowner named William Darlington. So, how does Mellon gain access to the land? If you were Thomas Mellon and you wanted to get this tract of land, how would you do it?
Buy it.
No.
No?
That you would think, right? But no, he just asked nicely. He sent Darlington a letter saying, "Hey, can I use your land?" And he said yes. I mean, that was it. He signed, they made an unofficial agreement. He could just straight up use the land for free. No charge, no rent, for 3 whole years. And the only condition that he had was you can't cut down any trees. That was it. That's such a sweet deal.
I don't know about that. I just... William Darlington was just too polite to refuse.
That is a genuine possibility.
I mean, you have can I use this land? And you're sure.
But then, regardless of whether it was at gunpoint or not,
I imagine
do the thing.
He wanted to get on the train. He's like, this is the one way to guarantee a stop.
Maybe. I don't know. We don't know their motivations because we have very few records at this time. So, anyway, he got permission to use the land. And the land was, as we've said, Idlewild. It was just kind of there, not doing anything. So that's where it got its name from. I don't think they ever called it Idlewild Park, though.
Did they ever call it Idlewild Stone?
No, not at that time. We're not there yet. You're jumping the gun just a little bit, but I see we're going to get there, all right? So, originally the park is, it's just a glorified campground with it's got some picnic spots. It's really more of a nature park than a theme park at this point. We'll get into that later. So, the very first year he's allowed to use the land, in 1878, Mellon constructed a tiny train station. It was only 25 by 10 feet, and it actually set a record for the smallest full-service station in the United States.
That's really impressive.
It is actually pretty impressive, and also really funny to me.
I think that station still exists.
Does it?
Yeah, the Ligonier Valley Railroad used to.
No, that's Darlington Station.
Oh, is this
that's a full-size station.
What was the stop at the station you called it?
I don't think they ever had an official name for it. That's the problem. I couldn't find one.
On Idlewild property, they still have the station buildings. That could be one of them.
It could be. And I hope so.
Otherwise, the majority of the other stations kind of got torn out.
Yeah. The rail line went, and so did most of the structures.
Yeah.
We'll get to that too. So, in those first few years, the park kind of took shape. You know, you had campsites. They had a lake for fishing and boating, picnic tables. They built a large hall for it. It's kind of taking shape and being like cooler and cooler over time. So, and then they went further. Between 1880 and 1896, they dug 3 artificial lakes.
Okay.
They named them Woodland, Sinclair, and Bouquet. And they started off for rowboating on the lakes. Rowboating.
That sounds pretty fun. I would do that.
Yeah, so far this place is starting to sound like a pretty dope hangout spot, right? Yeah. You and the boys at the Wild Park.
Taking a break on the train.
Taking a ride on the train, get out there, have a picnic with the bros. Rowboating. Yeah, and also in 1896, they brought in a steam carousel, and they installed it in the center of the park. It was made by the T.M. Horton Company in Pittsburgh, which at the time was kind of a baller thing because they kind of like a cool thing to have. They were a large supplier of roller coasters and carousels, and they were based out of Pittsburgh. So I know they were like really proud. Yeah.
So like you're saying they like provide entertainment?
Yeah.
So they're like the Xbox.
Oh my gosh! I'm not saying that. That's not even comparable. That's not comparable at all. Carousel, Xbox 360,
entertainment.
I guess, but one of those actually, I guess, could you make the claim and say that the Xbox is an experience?
Yeah.
Nathan's nodding. Yeah. All right, fine. I guess I'll concede and say that the Xbox and the carousel are somewhat connected.
Entertainment to the mouse.
But anyway, the carousel was the first unofficial official ride of the park. Kind of cool. And this is from Wikipedia, mind you, so I don't know how credible this is. But they said that by the end of the 19th century, the attractions of the park included a bicycle track around Lake Bouquet, hiking trails, fishing in the creek, rowboating, and many walks and gardens.
This sounds like a really pleasant afternoon.
It does. They also had dining halls, auditoriums, pavilions, a boathouse, an amphitheater, a bandstand, and some athletic facilities. Don't know if that just means big fields or if they put in like a basketball court or something like that. Did basketball exist in the 1880s? Some people are nodding yes at me. Okay. I have actually no idea if basketball exists. I'll take it with a complete grain of salt. Okay, moving on with our story. There's a lot to talk about for this topic.
We're only at the early 1900s.
Just past the turn of the century, we're in the 1900s. So, 1908, Thomas Mellon passes away, passes the park on to the sons. In his will, he has 2 sons, Richard and Andrew, and they just kind of continue in their father's footsteps, just making it incrementally better over time. But in 1931, Richard Mellon, with his partner, Clinton McDonald, took full control over the park under an agreement called the Idlewild Management Company.
Okay.
So he didn't have complete free reign, but he did have a lot of financial backing. And Andrew had the vision, and Clinton had 30 years of theme park experience already under his belt. So between the two of them, they immediately started making changes to the park. Big changes. All right. Also, in case you're wondering, if you've ever heard the name Andrew Mellon, he would go on to become Secretary of the United States Treasury, and he served under Presidents Harding, Coolidge, and Hoover.
Ooh.
So I'd say he did all right. He didn't have a theme park,
I mean,
but he did get to become Secretary of the Treasury.
are you saying he managed a vast land of land?
Yeah.
So
One could say that he had a little bit more land.
So you're saying a theme park in the United States are comparable?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, but what sort of changes? First season, under the financial support of Mellon and the management, they brought electricity to the park. They brought a brand new carousel, which they still have, a roller coaster. They planted 10,000 shrubs, a bunch of flowers, and a large amount of trees to help keep the park beautiful. And then they also got a live animal display, which is my favorite part, because there's a fun story that goes with it.
Oh, pray do tell.
So, what they did is they got a den of black bears, and across from the den, they had a cage of monkeys. They had 7 monkeys. And one night in 1932, all of them escaped. And so the park management put up a bounty, a $3 reward for every monkey captured, which amounts to like $67 in today's money. And I just love the idea of just 7 monkeys living in Western Pennsylvania, just completely on their own. They probably died within a week, dude.
I don't know. I feel like they probably were found.
No, apparently none of them were ever found, which means they probably died.
Wow. That is... That's the practice.
I'm sorry.
Talking about a children's amusement park.
Anyway, so throughout the 30s, they just started adding more and more rides to complement the carousel. And the park began garnering a lot of attention from local cities, with reports of people even riding the train from Pittsburgh to come to the park, which at the time was a pretty long trip. At one point, this is a clipping from a newspaper from 1890, which says, quote, "The trains to the park were so crowded that the tops of the train cars were covered with boys." I found so much random stuff on this topic, dude.
Why didn't they go to Kennywood?
I don't know. Also, Kennywood's a long farce. It's a far way away. You can't
Yes.
ride. If you're a boy and you live in Ligonier, you can't ride all the way to Pittsburgh. Anyway, the park also regularly had large events. They had circuses, rodeos, which we need to bring back, and fireworks shows. And like everything else in America, the park was shut down during World War II. But while it was shut down, they seized the opportunity, spent $50,000 in 1944 money.
That's a lot of money.
Renovated the entire park and had a grand reopening. And Richard Mellon went on to run the park until 1951. When the McDonald family, they took full control over the park. And under their leadership, they continued pretty much the same trend of just growing, expanding, adding new attractions, almost every couple years. It's kind of impressive.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of a weird, it's not really near any, towns. It's a bit of a drive still today to get there.
It is. It's a really weird location. I guess it was, it was an easy land to get a hold of, I guess. But yeah, the location, smack dab between Latrobe and Ligonier, it's just kind of weird in any other set of circumstances. Yeah. But anyway, back to the story. Let's see here. Not too much else happened throughout this time. Just checking my notes here. The railroad did go belly up in 1952.
Very sad.
Yeah, so it's gone. We could maybe do an episode on that sometime later.
I agree.
We'll get to that maybe at some point. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Tune into the pit stop with Leo Sun. All right, I'm sorry. So in 1982, McDonald family puts the park up for sale, and guess who bought it? The Kennywood Corporation.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Which ironically was also started by the Mellon family, so it kind of came full circle, kind of came back, kind of butterfly effect onto itself.
I mean, if you're going to have an amusement park operator in Western PA, I feel like there's very few options.
There are. The Kennywood Company had a lot of money behind them, despite still being a family-owned company at the time. They are also responsible for the construction of the water park, which I found was originally called the H2O zone, which is
that's not an
super
element.
corny. I don't like it, but I also love it at the same time. It's a complicated relationship.
Oh man, I can't guess where we're going. Idlewild and H2O.
It's such a corny name. I'd much prefer Soak Zone.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just nostalgia. Anyway, so Kennywood, being a family-owned company, declined to sell out any of their parks to large companies for literal decades until 2007, when they announced that they would be selling pretty much everything to a Madrid-based company called, Palace Entertainment. So that's who owns the park now.
Palace Entertainment's pretty big, I think.
It is, yeah. But yeah, I just think it's funny that this weird old park in Western Pennsylvania is owned by some dude in Spain. But
Never visited it.
no, absolutely not. Why would he? He lives in Spain. But let's see. Last couple things that I have here in my notes. The park is still operational today. It's not far from here, so when it opens up in the spring, I would recommend going out and, just seeing it. It's very cool historical. I will admit, if you're a daredevil, it's not exactly the best place. They have all of 2 roller coasters, both of which are not very intense. which is perfect because I don't love roller coasters.
You told me about the story.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a traumatizing time in my life, Leo. All right?
What a horrible first date.
Anyway, I have one final interesting story.
Okay.
All right. So, 1758, maybe you've heard this story. A young George Washington fired on his own side on complete accident because it was in the fog.
Right.
And at one point, he realized that they were firing on their friends and ran out in front of his troops who were firing, screaming at them to stop. If I remember correctly, they were like bullet holes through his jacket.
Right.
And he said, quote, that it was like the scariest thing that he'd ever done in his life. Well, there is a theory that event took place on the land that would become Idlewild.
That's kind of cool.
And the theory is there is some credibility to it, but also they never officially verified where this event with Washington took place.
It's kind of hard when you don't really mark it.
Matt, I don't read lips very well. My producer, Mr. Matthew Boyer, is desperately trying to tell me something.
Yes, they did. They just found it.
They just found it?
Yeah.
Where?
Not too far away from Idlewild.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not on the land.
No,
he said that it's not on the land that
It's
is
on the national parks of the 13 soldiers who died.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh,
I don't know if the microphone picked that up. They're building a national park to the 13 soldiers that died. So it's not on Idlewild.
They probably
Darn it, it's been debunked.
I mean, you could say they marched through it. You never know.
It's very possible. It's very possible. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, borders are pretty abstract.
A little bit. But, yeah. So to cap this off, I have a quote from the current Idlewild general manager, whose name is Brandon Leonati.
Oh, man.
The chief reason for Idlewild Park's success for the last nearly 130 years, why it is recognized as one of the best parks in the world for families and kids, is that we have never forgotten our roots, carefully blend best of the old and the new, and strive to be a part of the fabric of the communities in which we do business. And that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of rich history there, and they kind of flaunt it. If you go to the park, they have little cool historical markers and stuff. Like the cage for the bears, it's still there. They took down the one for the monkeys, but they still got the bears. I love it. It's so great.
What's your favorite ride to that?
Oh, shoot. I don't know. I like the train. I know. I love that they have a tiny train. Sue me. What's yours? Have you been to Idlewild?
I've been to Idlewild, yeah, with like my little brother. I don't know. I'll be honest. If you're like, it's not really for like people our age group, but like if you like history or like cool old roller coasters, they have stuff for you there.
They do.
It's good for families. Great for families.
Yeah, it is actually great for families, especially with like younger kids. There's so much stuff to do.
Right.
I know we're making a podcast for college students. Like, if you guys have younger kids, you should totally go here. What are we doing?
Maybe nieces and nephews? I don't know. Nieces and nephews visiting during college. Storybook Forest is a fun part.
It is fun. We've had friends of ours who actually worked in Storybook Forest. Actually, before we end, I do have a funny story about that I glossed over. So, Storybook Forest used to be its own separate thing. When Andrew Mellon teamed up with this clown who works at Idlewild as a performer, and was like, dude, you know what would be so cool? If we made fairy tales come to life. Which I think he was inspired by roadside attractions out west. And he was like, we gotta build something. So they did. And this clown guy, what was his name? Arthur Jennings or something like that?
That doesn't sound like a clown name.
Well, not his stage name. Yeah, Arthur Jennings, right? The performance clown. And he was like, you can run this. And he gave like full control of Storybook Forest to this just random clown dude that he knew. And he made it his own separate thing. So yeah, Idlewild Park is a huge park. It's making like a lot of money. And you have Storybook Forest off to the side, just kind of be in there. It's part of the park now.
Right.
But I just love that they gave complete ownership and like building abilities to this dude who was employed as a clown.
Okay.
This is real. This actually happened. I love it. There's so much random stuff.
I agree.
This is why this show exists.
Yeah, it's worth going out. The friends,
Leave your house.
some of the friends we know who work there. I know a guy who's like one of the mascots. I knew a guy, you know him, but like he used to work at one of the Italian restaurant. Or I don't know, like I never ate there, but like they don't have spaghetti. That more or less, they don't have spaghetti. Apparently,
What's he mad about that?
yeah, it's been like 2 decades since that place got rid of spaghetti or something, and people are still asking if they have spaghetti. Like they have pizza, but they don't have spaghetti.
But the Italian place doesn't have spaghetti.
Well, no, it's not an Italian place anymore either. They rebranded it.
What is happening?
It's pizza or something.
All right,
Chicken.
all right.
But then people are asking if they sell spaghetti. It's like, no spaghetti.
Okay. All right. We gotta cut this off here because we've been recording for a while, and I'm gonna lose my voice. I don't know if you can hear on the microphone.
Yeah, are you about to go Idlewild?
No. No, it's snowing outside. I don't want to go outside.
No, I meant like the state of mind one. Anyways.
Please, I'm going to drink of water.
Yeah, anyways, we're gonna go play bingo. Maybe thanks for listening to Pit Stop. That's with 2 T's. I'm Leo Sun.
I'm Stephen Foss.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Hey there, listeners. I'm Matt Boyer, station manager of WSVC Radio. If you like what you're listening to, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell button to be notified with all of our updates. Every day, one of our shows will be releasing a new episode. Stick around and tune in.